Hey, thank you for showing up at Roots and Reason. I am Preston,
I'm Holland.
and we are going to do a quick stream today talking about what's on everybody's mind right now is the first 100 days of the Donald Trump presidency. And boy, oh boy, folks have a lot of opinions on this one. So I'm going to have you go first. First of all, before we get into that,
Yeah,
you've been mobile.
I have been gone. Yeah.
You've been gone. We missed you. We're wondering where the hell you're at because they had to actually put up with my sorry ass.
Yeah, I mean, I just graduated from college, so I'm officially on to the next steps. I mean, that was like 2 weeks ago now, but I've been moving back home to Seattle and trying to get everything sorted here. So I've been kind of MIA, but I think I'm finally figuring it out. I don't I mean, when will I ever? I
Right?
think you'll never really know what's going on, but I'm in a place
Never
where,
figured out.
I have some time to hop on, so that's good.
Right on. So, have you had a chance to kind of keep up on the latest what's going on? I'm sure. I mean, if come on, if there's any place out there that's got an opinion about something, especially Donald Trump, it has to be the greater Seattle area.
I mean, there's definitely it's a shock coming from Phoenix to Seattle for sure, but I didn't even have as much time to really keep in touch as I was expecting because with driving and not having anything to do, I was like, oh, I can just listen to my podcast, catch up on the news. But there's zero cell service in Nevada, so I was kind of stuck with downloaded books. So not a lot of recent
Right on.
information, but I have been keeping up with a couple things here and there, and obviously it's been a lot, so it's hard to not miss it, but there's so much that I feel like I'm definitely missing the whole picture.
Congratulations on graduation. That's
Thank you.
uh, it's a big step. Congratulations. You just graduated the easiest part of your life.
I mean, yeah, I would definitely consider it the easiest part of my life. It's only
Yeah.
gonna get it's gonna be an interesting ride for sure.
Yeah, put your seatbelt on. So yeah. Uh, but anyway, well, I mean, you're off to a good start. I know where you're kind of going with this because your ultimate goal at the moment is
To go to law school and then graduate and go into the public defense system right now, but that's just kind of like a vague outline. I can see that changing drastically at any moment.
right. So it's like, okay, everybody, we're gonna have to toughen her up to actually, kind of get her used to what the political world is going to be like out there because it's literally a festering hive of savages and so many people go to Washington or in a public policy kind of realm and I believe me, even politicians, a lot of them go to there with the best of intentions in the world and then you're wading through a sewer
Yeah.
and eventually at some point so few can seem to hang on to kind of first principles and their dignity, anything before they just sell out. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene is one. There was another one. Was it Corey Brooks or whatever? I think he was like $41,000 in debt when he went into
Jeez.
Congress, and now he's got a portfolio several years later, $26 million.
Money talks.
Where's that come from?
The
Where?
world of Congress.
Well, right, and it's a lot of the insider trading stuff, and that's going to be one of those issues. I know that I think the bill that they have out there is called the Pelosi bill, which is
That
hilarious.
is
It's
hilarious.
a total troll,
She
but
works that system.
right, and that's one of the things I would always like to point out is I see a lot of young people because I've caught some shit out on X here recently of young folks give me the crap about Boomer because I'm like, hey, I paid my farm off. Finally, I can live a little bit, stress free, whatever. And it's like, oh, Boomer, I wish I had it, blah blah blah. And the Boomers, and I'm like, dude, I've eaten beans, rice. Once the dogs and the cat were fed, whatever was left over is what I had to survive on for the month. And it wasn't much. And I did this for years. And it was literally there were times I had to actually say, I can't make rent this month. I'm like $30 short. Can you just hang on a second and try to get extra hours at work? I mean, and then I'm thinking, okay, you guys didn't get to see all those years.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. Um, Now that I'm finally in a good place, and it's like, okay, uh, investments and things are finally paying off, and I could live comfortable,
Yeah.
by no means wealthy. Um, and then to have someone like try to shit on you and go, "Oh, life must have been so easy for you," and I'm just like, "What? You're
Yeah.
you're kidding me,
I think it's weird to assume that anyone is having an easy life. I mean, definitely there's people
right?"
with less challenges, but I mean, life is life. It's not like anyone gets a free pass
Well,
through
I'm like,
it.
well, instead of bitching at me, and you don't know that because it's like you said exactly, rich and poor, all in between. It's like, look, everybody's life's colored with a lot of things you have no idea what they're going through. But if you really want to change something, why don't you go to the place of the people that make the rules?
Yeah.
You know, the Walmart family, they're wealthy as shit, or Elon, or Bezos, or okay, Bezos is kind of an asshole, but I don't fault him for being a billionaire because he's playing within a system. Does he not pay a lot of taxes? Okay, I could get pissy about him not paying taxes, but he's working within a system that's already been created. If you don't like that, then change the system.
Yeah.
Don't bitch at the man for taking advantage of. If you had that money, I would ask these people, would you not take advantage of something? If there's some loophole out there that says, hey, look, I only make $30,000 a year. I'm working as a barista at a Seattle Starbucks. I think the minimum wage up there's like 15.79 or something like it. So it's pretty high for nationwide.
Yeah.
But in Seattle, it ain't piss. It ain't nothing, man. Uh, but you go there and say, okay, if there's a way that you could find a tax credit, you take it.
Yeah.
You'd be a damn fool not to.
Yeah.
Okay, so when those people do it, I can't fault them. You know, I just can't. It's go to the root of the problem. Don't bitch at the people who are kind of taking advantage of. But anyway,
No,
so
I
kind
like
of the well, one of the things I wanted to talk to today is the first 100 days of Trump.
yes.
And I know that you've been kind of transitioning on this, but at the same time, um, I would imagine that you can't escape it in campus life, even if you don't saturate it in it as much as I have. I've always been a very political person, but
Yeah. It's definitely showing itself because when you come to the end of 100 days, people start to have a basis for their opinions, and then it kind of you see the two pools form. Regardless if there should be two pools is also up for debate, but it's definitely dividing because you're seeing not just what he's promising, but you're actually seeing what is coming out of his presidency. And I've seen that take a hold of a lot of my relationships again. I mean, I would even consider it worse than pre election tensions because now people are feeling like this man has power over things that I uh, don't want him to have power over.
right.
Or that on the flip side, like, oh yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. He's following through on everything he said he was going to do. And those conversations are kind of starting to appear in a more intense and broad sense within my life, for sure.
Well, how about I do it this way? I'm going to break it down into like three, four, five categories
Yeah.
and just give me a grade, kind of what you think. And actually, before we get there around to too much, I'm going to ask you to self identify
Okay.
um, what you feel yourself is politically, because a lot of times other people will see you as something than how you see yourself.
100%. I think this is the funniest thing because I will tell people over and over again what I would kind of label myself as, and they either think it's impossible or doesn't exist, or think that I'm kind of like making something up. But I mean, my through and through for the last at least 3 years of college has been a conservative liberal, which seems confusing to most people. But when you kind of go to the root of what that actually is, it's hard because, I don't even exactly know. As we work through the issues, I feel like it shows itself more, but I feel like an anomaly. Wow, a what? An anomaly in my current generation because it is pretty polarizing. So I feel like the easier way for people to understand it is I consider myself pretty middle, And then depending on the topic, I lean
Right.
different ways.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So then I would call that just nuanced, if nothing else.
Yeah, but people like to say that I'm just uneducated or not willing to pick a side. And I think that because I have an education and because I think about it, I can't pick a side because I can see. But I do have a set opinion on things. It's just probably not the
Oh,
picking sides that
well,
people
you're
want.
gonna find out right now that you've chose the most difficult place to reside in kind of the political identity of in the United States because you're going to get hit by traffic going both directions, left and
100%.
right. Nobody wants to be your friend.
No.
Nobody wants to hear it. Everybody wants you to be part of a tribe.
Hmm.
And you want to say, well, like you said, I agree with this. I don't agree with that, even though this might not be aligned with that tribe, this tribe.
Yeah.
Get used to dodging and weaving like Neo out there, you
There's
know.
gonna be no
Whoa.
scholarship options for sure. It's a fun world to live in, but I feel like there's a lot of people that agree with this viewpoint, and they just like you're talking um, off recording, but they have this opinion, but they don't want to speak up because they're scared too. And I think
Right.
that voices need to start coming up that do reside in the middle because the middle is where ideas are created and where inspiration happens. I don't expect everyone to think like me. I just want everyone to think. So I
Right.
I think that's what it means to be kind of in this weird political gray.
Oh, well, let me tell you what. I got a feeling by the time 10 years from now, you are going to be as tough as a leather strap, man. I mean, it's just, you have to be.
Yeah,
You don't
it's
have
gonna
a
be
choice. It's
brutal.
right. You've picked a really rough road. Congratulations, man. I dig it. I do. I dig it.
I just want it to be hard, you know. I can't do anything the easy way. Apparently.
All right. Since you're just out of college, I'm going to give it a grading system. Okay.
Okay,
On domestic policy.
domestic policy for Trump.
Yep.
Mm, out of like 10, like how are we grading this?
Well, 8F, an actual
A
grade.
to F. Okay, domestic. I feel like it's hard because I feel like his domestic policy is leaking so much into international policy. So it's like my grades I feel like are gonna be similar.
Okay, well, yeah, international is going to be its own category, that's for
Okay, I'll
sure.
think just domestic. I C plus. it's not
Okay.
as it's not it's pretty. I'd consider it pretty average grade because I don't really expect there to be a ton there to begin with.
And actually, I would have thought, domestic probably would have been, and it probably is, his high point in my eyes, just because
Yeah.
he was also a lifelong Democrat. He didn't become a Republican until his first run as a president. People
Hmm.
seem to forget that. Everybody thinks he's ultra right next to some neo fascist or whatever. And I'm like, he's a Democrat, a New
Yeah.
York Democrat at that, I mean, hello.
I think that he has the ideas and the baseline I can see, but it's really hard to get over like personality attachment to that and what his tribe makes of his domestic policy. Um, I
Right.
think that spills over into my grading because I'm kind of seeing it as a whole and seeing it as like a social ripple effect as well.
Right. And I think that you're 100% right on. I think there's people don't really consider that there's Trump the man and the personality, and there's also the kind of the fact that he's feeding off the crowd. We all know he's got that
100%.
narcissistic streak in him that he loves the adulation and the honey from the crowd, the
Yes.
applause.
Which is totally understandable. And I get why he's doing that. But when you have an influential leader that, even if he's not really making policy choices that represent how his personality is in the media, that media personality is inspiring other
Right.
politicians and other people. So it's like I understand that like maybe what he's doing right now isn't a direct representation of his personality, but he is pushing forward. I hate to say agenda because that just seems so cancel culture-y, but I feel like it kind of fits the his viewpoint or ideology or political stance in this environment, and people are kind of falling for the personality. Not a lot of people are looking at it politically, so it's really hard for me to detach that from
Right.
what he's doing.
Well, do you think, being he's certainly definitely the boomer generation, you've heard
Yeah,
me bitch and moan that there's like too many old people in Congress
100%.
because it's like these Pelosi, Schumer, uh, what's his name up there in Kentucky, Republican guy, Tippy Turtle. Can't even think of his name right now, but
Yeah,
they're still fighting the Cold War of 1991, and I'm
because
like,
it works for them. You know, they're staying in there. They're making money. I think that's what happens when your politics gets so detached from what it means to not be a politician. That's when it gets pretty scary. And our system right now kind of feeds into this. Oh yeah, I mean, if it's working, don't change it. But is it working? I don't know. They have a lot of power, and they're so detached from what it means to be outside of the world of politics that there's a lot of lost growth there for sure.
well, and the thing is, which is something we'll actually talk about on a separate podcast later, is the speed of technological advancement. It is so rapid now. When I went to college, when I went into IT, like network administration, the Wi-Fi didn't exist.
Mm,
Uh, Everything that well, I'm not going to say everything, but I would say 2/3 of everything that I learned kind of pointless now. It's literally something that kids in high school know.
yeah.
And it's like, I spent how much money in student loans and all this shit for that? And the thing is, in 10 years, that's going to be so archaic that it's gone. Well, we look at search engines.
Mm,
We went from Google to Grok. And now everybody's going to have their own personal assistant. You walk around, hey, like Star Trek almost at this point.
literally. Yeah.
What is it? You don't need Google. Okay. So, all right. How about, in this case, international?
Okay, wait. Before we move on international, you have to grade domestic. This can't be a one-way street.
Okay. Domestically, I'm going to give him a B plus. And the
Wow.
reason is this is as good as it's going to get.
You think so? From
For,
him or from
for
politics
me,
in general?
from my
Okay.
view.
Okay.
I voted for Trump on this thing just because the alternative scared an absolute shit out of me.
For what reason?
Because the left embraced kind of a radical version of the left. They abandoned labor, unions, traditional things, free speech. It was the free speech hippies and stuff on Berkeley campuses that pioneered this. There were people getting shot at. By the way, May 4th was the anniversary of Kent State. And
Hmm.
these were people out there protesting the war and for the case of free speech to be able to say these things against their government to
Yeah.
the point they were getting shot at by the National Guard, for God's sakes. That's balls. And they went from that to trust the science. They became literally like worshippers of the state.
Mm.
Oh, please, Uncle Sam, keep me safe from the boogeyman. And Fauci's the greatest thing. Oh yeah, the vaccination, which not actually a vaccination for the virus of unknown origin. Um, it's safe and effective, and it will prevent the transmission. All of that was bullshit. And then we're finding out now they knew it was bullshit. Tens of thousands of people died. They weren't even supposed to do this stuff in the United States, so they had to move it to China. And when I'm being told, okay, I have to trust the science and the experts.
Yeah.
And we come to find out, well, the experts were just paid for agents of a certain branch of or certain ideological view of the government. And
Okay.
unfortunately, that all kind of skewed to the left. And we look at things like the media, we look at CNN. I mean, okay, Trump kind of went the thing with the fake news kind of a thing. The reason that stuck is because everybody realized it.
Hmm.
I said this stuff back in 2001, at the end of 2001, early 2002, when the one voice that was an anti-war voice was actually Phil Donahue. Do you remember that guy?
No, I mean
No,
the
before
name
your time.
vaguely, yeah, but
Okay, he
not
was an
modernly.
icon in the 70s and 80s, and even into the early 90s. He was literally like kind of a Walter Cronkite of that period, and he was vehemently anti-war, and they chucked him. And I said, "Well, wait a minute. Going into the whole thing with the Iraq War, there was at least 25-30% of the nation that was like not convinced this was the right thing to do."
Hmm.
And I'm like, why is it that CNN, Fox, MSNBC, CBS, there's not one anti-war voice out of all these news stations? And yet 30% of our population says, I don't know if this is a good idea. I'm not convinced. And yet every single news thing was out there banging the drum. Go to war. War is good. And it's like, well, wait a minute. It's not representative of the views of the people. And that's kind of what always journalism is intended to keep government in check, not the people.
Hmm.
And then as time got on, it got worse and worse.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you start to see, well, it's basically you're going from the press briefing of the president's view directly out to the press, and it's only on one side. It had nothing to do with the right. The right just got screwed every chance they could. So it's like, okay, where do people become journalists? In the past, it was blue collar. Now it's Harvard. Okay, we see the connection. There's academia, journalism all of a sudden gets elevated to some bullshit heights that it never deserved. And now that they're becoming, instead of speaking truth to power, they're speaking on behalf of power. People lost interest in it. They said we're done. That's why you and I are here having existence. That's why the
Yeah.
Joe Rogans and the Tim Pools and the thousands of other cast out there, because people don't have faith in it. People understand sincerity. We might be low budget on our things, but we're talking from the heart. We're not scripted here. We're not paid by big oil, big pharma, or anything like that. We're just average folks trying to kind of work through the world of our time.
Yeah.
I give Trump a B plus because a lot of the things he promised his constituents, uh, he's kind of keeping up with. And the biggest thing was like the immigration stuff. Agree, disagree, don't care. He's fulfilling that promise. Um, it ain't perfect, and you and I'll probably have a different view on things when it comes to judicial
Yeah.
aspect of these things. But as far as trying to fulfill promises that he made here to keep his fans happy, you know, MAGA. Uh,
Uh-huh.
let's also keep in context, maybe at least where I'm coming from is I don't see MAGA as a right wing thing anymore.
Okay.
Not a far right thing. I think it originated in the Tea Party, but all of a sudden we ended up with Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat from the left. She was a former DNC chair. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Okay, the left disavowed him, called him a kook.
Yeah.
He's a hoot. I'd love to party with that dude. Are you kidding me? Dude, I'd love to go drink some whiskey with that guy, hang out and have a cigar, man. He's a
Yeah.
hoot. Odd dude? Hell yeah. This is the best kind of people you want to hang out with. Um, and there are others. There's when you look at the people that kind of came along with it, the Joe Rogans, Brett Weinstein, Eric Weinstein, Heather Saying. These are people that they were definitely in the left camp that said the left has just went too far.
Yeah.
And that's kind of I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So on domestic stuff, yeah, I'm gonna give them a B plus, but probably as good as it's gonna get. So
That's
my
fair.
question to you then is going to
Yes.
be the next one is going to we'll go to international, which will be our foreign policy stuff. So
Yes. I would say currently how it is C minus.
yeah, I'll go with that.
I think
Actually,
I can understand a couple aspects of it. Like the tariffs, I can understand from like a political theory point of view, and I understand what he's trying to do with it. It will it work or not? I mean, that time will tell. So that's, I feel like, why the scoring is so low, because we are in an unknown for that. Everything else is just, I feel like the inside turmoil of determining how we want to do our international relations, especially through the Republican Party alone, is causing a lot of weird like blips in policy choices and trying to figure out um, what even is the goal. And I think because it seems a little unclear, I feel like there's big choices being made and unclear grounds, which I find issue with.
Is there any specific instance that you have a particular issue with, or is it just more generalized?
Um,
I mean, because if you look at how our policy towards, like right now, a lot of people are complaining about our attitude towards Europe or Trump's views on Europe. I mean, JD Vance going over there
yeah,
telling all the people in the European Union, I don't want to hear you bitching. You guys are going to like authoritarian left, man. You're a bunch of lunatics, and we're going to check out of here. Screw you, screw NATO. We're done.
yeah.
And
I mean,
everybody was like, "What the hell? Are you shitting me? Is that guy serious?"
yeah. I the NATO and EU stuff in
By the way, I think that was a highlight.
a highlight. You liked leaving. I mean, I don't really expect anything less.
I've had it up here with the Europeans, man. I'm just done.
I mean, I understand that, and there is a valid perspective behind that. But I find issue with, obviously this isn't Trump's perspective. He's America first. That's always been his thing. But America as a whole has not been that way. It's never really been America first. It's always been kind of yeah, we want to push our own country, but if it comes to protecting the human rights or civil rights of another country that we feel like is damaging their um, citizens, we're going to step in and be that power force. And I mean, NATO, that's kind of its existence, is to kind of hold that boundary. But if you can't, it's hard to go from acting as a country that is in that policing role to stepping out completely and not really taking the chance to be like, okay, well, it's fine if you want to move that direction, but you can't just step out as easily, because it's been years and years and years of going into countries saying that we have the right to do this because we are on some moral high ground and we need to intervene because the people can't do it themselves, and all this
And it's
defense
not
for
purely
it.
moral. It also
Well,
comes down to the
a
money.
100%.
We're funding a lot of that shit over there. It's like,
It,
hey, who's
proxy
paying the
wars.
bill? You
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
I am, and so are 350 other million Americans.
yeah. The funding part, it's something that's not as easy to walk out of as I think he likes to make it seem. And what happens when you do walk out? It's kind of like it really
Yeah,
does
big
come.
boss don't want to close that door because it might not open again.
Yeah,
So
it's a brutal and big choice to make, in my opinion. And I don't know if we're
yeah,
necessarily in the point to make it yet. I think there could have been conversations. NATO leaders probably should have readdressed what the purpose of NATO even is in this current climate a little bit more. I just think he was cutting ties really fast, and I think that scares me. I don't
well,
really want
they
to
went really
late.
hard left too, though. I mean, we look at right now between the UK, Germany, and France.
Yeah,
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a revolution, and I know that strong language to say in the next 3 years because Germany was talking about banning EFDA, AFD party.
yeah,
They call it far right.
yeah,
We look at it though, and I mean, I think JD even had something out on X today going, wait a minute, this is not far right. We're not talking about people goose stepping and, doing the Roman salute or anything here.
yeah,
They're just talking about people that are kind of more nationalistic,
yeah,
draw the line exactly what is right, far, whatever. But from the American perspective, they're going, well, wait a minute, this is not far right. Just because you call it that. And the point is like, okay, if the left now is just going to go, we saw it in Romania
yeah,
with Georgescu, and they just said, screw it. to hell with your elections. You're out of here. No, no, we're gonna nullify the entire elections. Wow, that's a heavy duty thing. When a
Yeah.
country says no, we're not going to recognize the elections because it's far right. Okay, who makes the decision? What is right, far right, whatever? That becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Then we're watching this going to unfold here in Germany, and all of a sudden, shots fired just past 2 days. Going, well, wait a minute, that's AfD. AfD is not far right, and if you ban them, there will be consequences from the United States. We already saw what's happened in the UK. Let's not kid ourselves. From our perspective, of an American perspective, we do have a lot of freedoms that a lot of the world don't.
100%.
And that woman or whatever, I believe it was a woman that actually was a, you know, she went to a outside of an abortion clinic somewhere in the UK, closed her eyes to pray, didn't say anything to anybody, and ended up in jail.
Yeah.
To me, that seems extreme on the left. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, you guys are talking about extreme on the right, but yet you're going to put someone in jail for praying silently because it's within 200 feet of a abortion clinic? Oh my God. That to me seems absolutely horrific.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's definitely extremes on the left for sure, and it is taking control of a lot of foreign policy, and I mean, especially NATO. But I think when you're talking about Germany specifically, like they just the history for them is so fresh and they witnessed a lot of it. So I think it's fair for them to have a higher level of uh
Fair. Yeah, I
like,
think that's
oh, this
fair.
is
Right.
coming, like I don't want this to happen again. Like there's been some accusations that some people, high leaders in the AFD, have not really
Right.
been as willing to draw those lines
Right.
and
Have a
say,
little bit of
yeah,
a goose stepping kind of
yeah, they
a
don't they
theme.
it's hard when when you
Right.
don't address, like, yes, this is terrible, and I don't this isn't what my party's trying to do. When you don't make
Hmm.
those harsh lines, it gives a
Right.
lot of other people
That's
the
fair.
power to be like, okay, well, because you're playing so iffy with it, and because it seems like you want to dabble around and not really address what our history, what we're trying to prevent. Uh, it's fair that other people on the outside are making those accusations, in my
Right.
opinion.
And there was an article today. I wish I had it pulled up, but I would have shared it. It was from Built, and kind of the tone of it was just, it was a lot of projection. And I think actually one of the things that it was in response to, since Georgescu, whatever, in Romania was ousted and they redid the elections,
Hmm.
and he handed it off to his second in command, who won. Now, the globalist guy, the WEF, World Economic Forum type guy, Davos type, he came in second.
Hmm.
And Bill wrote this article kind of in response to that. And it was kind of funny. I saw it was so much projection. Um, and the reason was that because they brought a lot of Ukraine stuff in. I was like, well, what about all the Western Ukrainian Banderites, which is very much type people
Yeah.
who step kind of, they have that affinity for it. That's the Azov battalion. That is not all of Ukraine. There's a lot of Ukraine that is not, but there is that element there. And prior to 2022, even CBS, MSNBC, CNN, they were all doing articles and things about that weird, funny symbol people in Ukraine having this. And all of a sudden, when Russia went in, all that went away because now Russia's the bad guy and these people are great.
Hmm.
International politics. You think local politics are great?
Hmm.
Oh man, the international is just absolutely ridiculous kind of a
Yeah.
stuff. Okay. I'm gonna kind of agree with you. My problem, I think, international politics is amateur hour. When I saw the stuff from like the Signal deal, okay, that could have been a mistake, but Pete Hegseth, I'm sorry, he's just like this testosterone, curvy-haired Hollywood star kind of a dude, and I'm thinking, is this really the guy that needs to run an agency at this? I understand he was a soldier in these things. He
Yeah.
understands that, but is this the type of person that you want in a position that's negotiating with other countries of the world, particularly the Russias and the Chinas and India, uh, issues of war and peace?
Mm.
It's a different from having a soldier with a gun or a Fox News commentator. I think it's amateur hour. When I watched that whole damn chain of thing on the Signal stuff get released, I was happy to see that JD Vance was the one that went, "Hey, wait, are we sure we want to do this with Iran?" Kind of a. I was glad to see that there was doubt and pushback. A little bit disappointed in Tulsi Gabbard, to be honest with you. I love her. I think the gray in her hair, I will always have a man crush on her. She's just so adorable. But she's a generally reasonable person that when I saw that chain, it's like, you don't sound like people who are taking this shit serious. You sound like a bunch of college guys talking about a Call of Duty game they're playing online.
Yeah. I think it's
I'm
the
I'm not seeing
sorry,
anything
yeah.
serious.
Yeah. That's I feel like yeah, there's a argument to be made on just the
Amateur
stupidity,
hour.
yeah, of it all, and then also the this is really serious, and I think it happens from this is just all hypotheticals, and obviously even I am detached from what I'm about to say, but I think it comes from a place where we haven't really had to fight to defend our land at all. It's just been fighting for other political reasons, and yes, there's wars happening or conflicts as we love to
Right.
call them. But when you're so detached from what war really is and what it means to fight for your country, and it becomes a weird place of being able to make those decisions that they made on Signal and then using Signal in the first place, because it just seems so detached from what your life is going to be here in on ground America. And yeah, there's people's lives fighting and there's soldiers fighting for us in foreign countries, but it is so detached from our actual security and sovereignty that
Yeah.
people are willing to make really big decisions so willy nilly. Like I don't know how to really put
Lighthearted.
that in
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah.
That scares an absolute living shit out of me because you are 100% right. I don't. We are so far removed from war. Even in my childhood, in the aftermath of Vietnam, which ended 75, 76, depending on who you ask, it was the tail end of that war.
Mm.
Um, I was a child when that was taking place, so I don't really have any memory of it. I had since visited a place in a state of war, and I saw the after effects of it, which is what forever will always make me, I'm not traumatizing because I'm no soldier, and seeing what 50 caliber rounds do to a person is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Um, 100% right. You don't, if war's never been on your doorstep and it's never, we don't appreciate the gravitas of what that really means when you have to mobilize an entire nation, an entire generation of people to go do a thing and fight something. Um, you don't know if you're going to win or lose. We just assume that we are. Everybody does. Everybody assumes they're going to be a winner and everything.
Mm.
Uh, well, unless you're the 300 at Thermopylae, but that's another story. Um, and there's a lack of seriousness with this, without a doubt. I mean, I look at one of the worst people on the planet Earth. Well, he was a double-edged sword. Was Henry Kissinger, and he talked about having the instability prevents anybody from gaining a foothold because everything's so unstable, and this is our advantage, that kind of thing. But when you listen to the people of that era kind of talk about stuff, because nuclear war was a thing,
Mm-hmm.
push a button, the world ends.
Yeah.
It's over for everybody. The human species could cease to exist. That's pretty freaking serious, man. And I listen to people today talking about when, especially during Biden in Ukraine, talking about, well, we could use a tactical nuke here. We were sending missiles to allow them to bomb Moscow. It's like, wait a minute, you're involving yourself in a proxy war with here against the world's largest nuclear arsenal. the weirdest thing is like you guys want to get rid of Putin. He's like the most sane person you're going to deal with. Everybody underneath them is lunatic. I mean, they're ready to push the button yesterday. He's the one going, "Calm down, everybody, calm down." And I'm like, you want to get rid of him? You don't have to like him. You know, he's done
Yeah.
some authoritarian stuff, but at the same time, let's be reasonable. You're right, and you have no idea. I think how right you really are on that. I wish even people in my generation would recognize that this is serious, especially in the geopolitical world. And that's my reason why I give it such a low grade. It's because it's been amateur hour. I just hate to say it. Waltz got yanked the other day.
Hmm.
They say, "Oh, he wasn't fired. We send him to the U." No, he wasn't. UN was just shut him up, just like Nikki Haley. She has no authority, no power, or anything to do over there. Why? Because the guy was doing a deal with Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel to try to get the United States into a war with Iran. What would that cost us in treasury and blood? We saw what took place in Afghanistan and Iraq. How many thousands of troops did we lose? How many young men fought a war for basically nothing? And what did we gain from all of that?
Yeah.
Nothing. And now you want to go up into a country that's population wise is 17 times larger, far more sophisticated, being armed by both China and Russia. You think that's going to end well for us? Are you out of your mind? Have you seen the economy? I mean, hello. So yeah,
Yeah. It's just interesting. I mean, even in my history classes, like it's hard to relate to the history you're learning because it seems so foreign. You hear about like Rome falling and all these great places that had great following and dictatorship, and I mean, it just feels so hard to even grasp that there could be a time where like Russia doesn't exist, China doesn't exist, America, it's a completely new world, and I don't think um it's ever something that my generation especially considers because it's just, oh yeah, America is always going to exist and there's always going to be
right,
these conflicts and we're going to have we might lose some land, gain some land, things like that, but no, like you can the world as we know it can change, and I just think that is such a foreign idea.
right.
And obviously I don't know if other generations experienced that or had a time of complete safety in the same way that they were like, oh, this is just always how it's going to be, but in the modern age, I feel we are too comfortable thinking that the world is going to stay how it is.
No, you have again, once again, you have no idea how much insight that you actually got on this because Tim Pool on trigonometry the other day, and Tim Pool in some ways he's gotten a lot better. I don't know why the guy always annoyed me. He just seemed like a snot nosed kid to me for so long, but um, he kind of brought up some issues of the. And don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of opinions I disagree with him, but when he brought up the thing of like the Civil War in the United States, right up until the day that the Civil War started, if you would have asked the North or the South, there were people literally bringing picnic baskets to go watch this alleged battle that might take place. Everybody said, "There ain't no Civil War. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And a year later, there's something like 100 and some odd thousand people dead. So yes, you don't know. I mean, this is one of the reasons why the Jews have the term "never forget what took place."
Mm.
Did the Jews think that in 1939 things were going to escalate, or from 1938, 1936, 38 to where they ended up? Nobody thought that, but it happened, and it'll happen again,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Even after all of that, then we had Pol Pot, the killing fields of Vietnam or Cambodia. Um, it's happened over and over and again through history, and it's going to happen again. It is. It's sad. It's disgusting. Um, it's one of those things. Was it Schopenhauer or who was it? Was it Oppenheimer or Einstein that said basically that our technology has exceeded our humanity?
Yeah.
Technologically, we are advancing so fast we can kill millions of people in a single bomb drop, but our ability to kind of like right and wrong, what's good and bad, just we're lagging kind of on a social gray matter kind of a thing of what is humanity, what is it worth, and that kind of a thing. But Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so internationally, kind of we're better in alignment. I think I might even potentially even give it a worse grade than even you. I think it's amateur hour, and to be
Yeah.
honest with you, I think Trump went out there thinking he can do a business deal. That's not how geopolitics works. You're dealing with different cultures, languages, people with different interests completely. The
Yeah.
interest isn't about making money here. This is borders, territory, and yeah, he's got people that are loyal to him, but are they any good? I'm not seeing it right now. I'm not feeling it, girl. I'm not feeling it.
That's fair.
Okay, moving from there, economics.
Gosh. I mean, I am so young that there's not really much to base off of personal experience. Like in my mind, when I think about like economic changes, I'm like, oh yeah, well when I was 16, gas was really cheap, so that was nice, you know. But it's so detached from my actual day-to-day life choices that I feel like I don't even get to make a grade on this. I feel like this is a place where you need more experience in living in past phases to actually
Fair
realize
enough.
what's going on now.
And economics is tough. That's why even the wealthy people actually go hire hedge fund managers and things to manage their money because you know why? It's complicated.
Yeah.
I spend enormous times of my life as my
Yeah, I want
hobby
to know your grade because this is more your wheelhouse.
studying finance.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a D plus.
Wow.
Um, I agree with where Trump is trying to do, where his mindset is. Um, the whole bring back kind of more manufacturing and stuff. That's all right. He's correct on a lot of these things, and he's changing the economic order of things.
100%.
And I think this is a good thing for two reasons. One of the reasons you and I have chatted briefly about is the bifurcation of financial system become hyper financialized. The United States through the Bretton Woods thing of 72, it gets complicated, but basically the United States gets to export its debt and in return it gets cheap energy and cheap goods. We can buy all the trinkets and baubles from China for like next to nothing, so you can afford them when you're working at McDonald's,
Yeah.
and you can afford that 65-inch TV that costs jack shit. As a consequence of that, though, we don't make anything, and then we come in with the virus of unknown origin. um, we don't even make respirators and the pharmaceuticals, and there's basic needs. In the United States military said, look, we're relying on the manufacturing of somebody that we're considering an arch enemy to produce the very absolute critical necessary things that we need as a society.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
So Trump is trying to kind of change those things. Uh, yes, manufacturing jobs definitely are better paying. Those are trade level jobs that you can get, that you don't have to go get a 4-year college degree in Native American gender studies of a blue winged bird, whatever, uh, or the sign of Sagittarius. Um, it's something concrete and real. You're actually learning skills of no, you're not in a STEM field. You're not an engineer. Okay, you're not a physicist. But at the same time, somebody's got to put the robots together. Someone's got to maintain that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there are jobs to be had for there. There's also trade jobs, building ships for a navy, building the plant to actually make the robots to make the stuff. There's a lot of inroads that could be done for there. Tariffs could have been done well if they were targeted to unfair trade practices.
Yeah.
He comes out with a blanket kind of scenario and just he's got like a bull in the china shop kind of a thing. The world financial global markets do not respond well to volatility. They do not like. We want stability of what's this market. It's a 0.01 rate, and it's a slow down on the chart. This is what makes the world just go round because nobody likes somebody coming out here with the butcher's
Yeah, well, there's too many
Right.
ripple effects too. There's too many people involved, economies involved to make such a big blanket statement because you're gonna impact every single thing within
Right.
that. And if that's fine in a one-to-one interaction, but when you go
Right.
global with it, like what you don't even know what you're gonna impact. You can't foresee all the ripple effects of it.
Last night, the Taiwanese dollar just crashed. Japan bond market's dead. Even our own bond market's crashed. Normally, when markets get crazy and volatile, uh, people get out of equities like the stock market. Just
Yeah.
Walmart and Nvidia, whatever stocks, hyper, Mag 7 stuff. They go into bonds.
Hmm.
That's what they always had. The traditional portfolio for a finance was 60-40, 60% equities and stocks, 40% into bonds. And the older that you got and closer you get to retirement, you went heavier and heavier into the bonds because they're boring, they're safe.
Yeah.
Um, bonds market's crashing. And the reason that's such a big thing is because the rest of the world's saying, we don't know what's going to happen to the United States right now. There's so much shit over there. We don't want to touch your debt. We don't want to buy it no more. So what do? They went to gold.
Yeah.
I can buy a bar of gold. I should bring that box over here. I collect some other precious metals. I love that shiny rocks, man. I love it. Because there's no counterparty risk. I
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
I got a gun over there and I can protect that. There's no trade on the backside of that. It's not like I bought an ETF or a options trade that somebody else is holding the other side of it.
Yeah.
So there's no counterparty risk, and that's why that's a safe kind of a deal.
So are you upset that we went away from the gold standard then?
Let's Yes and no in a sense. I mean, I understand why kind of they did it to. They wanted to float fiat currency to allow the expansion of economies
Yeah.
when it's tied to something like a finite resource. Doesn't matter if it was gold or seashells. Uh, it restricts the ability for it to expand and contract
Hmm.
because it's a finite thing. And in this case, gold is, unfortunately, they abused it. And that's what always seems to happen every single time. Of There's like this kind of greedy, ambitious thing where people just, there's no being content. You have to have more than enough. I look at people like Elon or Bezos or some very uber wealthy people. And there was an old saying that I grew up with is a man only needs so much money and then the rest is just for showing off. Like, I mean, really, how many billions of dollars do you need?
Yeah.
How many generations are you taking care of your family? I mean, I don't know when things get skewed and out of control. Gold, silver, precious metals, real estate, there's certain investments that should make up at least a portion of your portfolio in good times, bull markets, I would say 5%.
Hmm.
And bear marks or uncertain times, minimum 10%, as
Hmm.
high as maybe 20.
Wow.
And certain people would disagree with me, but I'm way overstacked on that. And I'm doing great. I'm having
You're
the
like, it's working
best
for
year of
me.
my life. Yeah. I haven't been working
Yeah.
in over a year,
It,
and I'm
it
doing
pays
well
to
just
be
by living on
bearish
dividends.
sometimes. That's funny.
Well, I saw the writing on the wall because
Yeah.
this isn't just beyond just the tariff stuff. The tariff stuff was something that shook the boat
Yeah.
and it made people fall off the canoe. But the problem was the canoe was way tipsy before all this shit ever started in the first place.
Yeah.
And this happened because ever since 2008, you probably don't remember the whole kind of mechanics of that,
I was
but
4.
right.
Yeah.
So when the housing market kind of took a tank, what the government did to try to stimulate the things to get the government, get the economy back on track, was they took interest rates down to like zero,
Hmm.
what they call the zero bound. And at that point, money's free. Everybody, you get a dollar, you get a million. It was like Oprah out there handing billions of dollars to everybody. You get it, and you get it, and you get it. And house ownership and everything went across. But unfortunately, because of that, inflation also goes up.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the more money that you hand out, the less each dollar's worth. Pretty simple math.
Yeah.
That's not anything complicated. And as a consequence, all of a sudden, when they had to start raising interest rates, then we can't afford to pay the interest on the debt, let alone the principal. Okay. You don't have to be an economist, to figure that out. It's like, look, when you borrowed so much money that you can't even afford an interest payment, you're in problem. You're in trouble. You're in debt over here.
Yeah.
So, anyway, economy. I know where he wants to go with it, and he's not wrong. I just disagree with the method that he's going about it.
Yeah.
And I like Scott Bessent. He's a sharp guy. He's a market guy. I'm going to give him a C plus.
Okay. That's pretty high for you. Economy.
Right. And that's only because I'm thinking long term that
You have hope
it,
for the future.
they're right. There's going to be pain for the next 2 years. There's just no way
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah. I mean, that was either way. You voted, it was going to be that way.
It didn't even matter
If
who
we're
was
going to put it
president.
out, I think is what everyone's wondering.
Right. It didn't even matter if Trump was president.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who was there. At some point, you have to pay the butcher's bill.
Yeah.
Simple as that. All right. So, okay. Overall, what's your kind of opinion on things? It's a mixed bag.
Mm, yeah, I mean, I would just go with a solid C because it is pretty early. He did want to come out of the gate strong. I I feel like my opinion will drastically change by the end of his 4 years. Uh, Definitely for better for worse. It's going to be one way or the other. I'm not going to be this middle ground. I would assume at the end of his term. And yeah, I guess I don't want to assume what the future is going to look like, but I would say
Right.
it's a solid C prospect for now.
Well, let me ask you then, kind of a follow up to that is waiting in the wind, kind of the best prospects right now. I don't see any Democratic front runners really. There's no shining star amongst Democrats that are really
Yeah.
kind of coming to light. And it's looking like the weird thing is, it's like, why the frick frack flip flop are they double down, triple down on what got them out there in the first place? I mean, they gave us Kamala and Tim.
Hmm.
Gavin, what really? Oh, God, no. On the other hand, though, in the Republicans, we have JD Vance.
Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts on him because uh, he certainly doesn't have the same level of narcissism or the bombast of Trump. Smart guy.
Hmm.
He comes from rural Ohio, drug fused kind of. He knows the shithole of America, what poor people's life is like. He put himself through was it Yale,
Hmm.
Harvard, and then became a tech bro. So he's literally seen life from every angle.
100%. I I think that there's definitely an option there, but I feel like he doesn't have what it takes to really get as much of a following as Trump, obviously because he lacks that kind of narcissistic take on things, which is a good thing politically and policy wise. But I feel like with him, he holds on to his past as if it's still something he's living through right now, and as if the issues that he had in his childhood parallel the issues that people are having right now. Which obviously some of those are going to overlap. Um, the human nature of a societal struggle is always going to be the same there, but I think that he sees himself as one of the people a little bit too much, and I think that's where he loses a lot of
Fair.
potential following because he thinks he's like, I'm one of you, I went through this, and people are looking at this his success and being like, I'm glad that you did it, but it's not really as achievable for me as as you may think it is. And I think that it'll be interesting to see if he kind of takes up that stick. But I don't wouldn't say right now he has like the strongest
Right.
pull in my mind. I'm not. I really want to see a
I haven't
decent
seen
option
enough of
come
them.
forward. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, it's not great, but it's not really something
Well,
that
how
I
much
feel is like
is
noteworthy.
your past things of your life?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
How much did that influence your thought of thinking?
I
I mean,
mean, yeah.
I know a few things that you seem to be focused on as important,
Yeah.
and okay, why is it that makes those things important? It made an impact on your life, I would assume.
100%. And I think it's good that he does have that background and that he's acting off of what he went through. But I think it's different to be like, this is what I went through and this is why I want to do it, and not just be like,
Okay, so you think it's actually
I,
going to matter a lot more when you try to convey that to the general population of the country as opposed to just like MAGA people? When you
yes, I
try to
think
sell that to like a
it,
general
it
election.
it's not going to get picked up as much because there's going to be a lot more pushback on it. It's good to have those past experiences, but your whole campaign can't be your past.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, do you have any kind of sentiment or feelings of where things are going? Just a general vibe?
I mean, my vibe isn't great. I have some issues with all of the legal stuff for sure. I mean, when I walk into class and all of my coursework gets canceled because we can't even use half the resources anymore, and
What?
my teachers don't even feel like they can teach me what I'm supposed to learn in my law classes because I feel like it's so up in the air. It's an interesting environment, and obviously that perspective does come from a more left leaning audience, but it has definitely impacted my day to day coursework. Obviously, now I graduated, but right when things were starting to pick up, um, it was interesting to see it really affect what I want to do with my future. It was like it definitely derailed where I was going. So it's
Wow.
hard for me to have like positive look on it when I'm seeing like, oh great, everything I just learned in the last 3 years is up for debate. Everything that was rock solid, yeah, this is always how it's gonna be, is kind of
Holy
now like
shit.
it
Wasn't
might.
life uncertain enough already without that? I mean, come
I
on.
know, and I'm like, okay, great. Well, I'm glad I didn't just finish law school because that would be a waste of money. I feel bad for anyone that did just recently make it out, but it's just such a the future is so unknown, and that excites me because that shows me there's opportunity for change, but at the same time I don't think we really have faced this uncertainty
Hmm.
before and recently, so it's a very woo, it's gonna be a show for sure.
No, okay. And just so you know, audience, um, Holland and I don't really chat about much. We've kind of made it a point to say we talk mostly mechanical things and we touch on stuff, just general theme stuff, but we never really talk about anything in depth because we're wanting to be this just we're wanting to figure this out live with the rest of our audience, kind of a thing. You have no idea. I literally just wrote this huge post on X or through a thread of someone that is kind of going through this kind of exact kind of a scenario of it's scary as hell when you don't know the futures. You just don't know. I'm as chill as they come. I mean, what I can't make up for, they make whiskey for. I can smoke my pipe and chill. Okay, I'm zen.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't know where shit's going. So that's the little bit of anxiety that, leads me out to my farm to go sniff the flowers around the place. And whew, wow, I need to, holy shit, the world's really screwed up right now. Holy shit. At the same time, one of the people that I know, Jenny Many Dots, she's really big in the mining industry.
Hmm.
She's kind of an analyst of different mining stocks. Canadian gal, smart as a whip. I'm hoping to get her on the show one of these days. Um, the Canadian elections, which just they chose to go further to the left, if that's possible. I didn't think there was anything left of Trudeau to the left. Where are you, where is that? Holy hell almighty! And yet there is.
Yeah.
And her first response was, "Let's form a group. Let's protest. Let's get some kind of an action against this kind of a thing." I mean, that was literally like her first mindset. And I ain't gonna lie, hell yeah. I respect that whole just, you know, I'm not going to go down lightly. I'm going to go
Yeah.
down fighting into the kind of thing. The world's messed up. I'm just not going to sit here and take it. So, for someone of your age that basically had that same kind of an attitude, especially out of coming out of freshly graduated college and then going back to Seattle, I hate to say it, but Seattle's got to be like one of the most defeatist cities in the country.
It's been beat up for sure.
It well, we're not going to go into it necessarily this thing, but there's a whole argument to make of that got brought up again on that last trigonometry kind of episode. I thought was amazing. Was you and I had talked about how younger people have the avatar of their online personas and stuff like that online. They experience the world way more than my generation ever did digitally.
Hmm.
As a consequence of that, they've kind of been exposed to they didn't travel. They didn't go to college down in Phoenix. They didn't go to Paris for the summer vacation between high school and college, or they did never went to view the world, how other people live. We're isolated in this nice, comfortable bubble between two large oceans and two friendly nations. We are the most comfortable people, and the only news we hear is the very news our president's calling fake news. We got academia that's clearly from the left. It definitely has a left wing bias, although there's more colleges now, probably skewing more towards the middle. In fact, I think there's one specific college I can't even remember the name of it right offhand now, but that's doing phenomenally well just because it's Bachelor of Science and Liberal Arts in the classical sense. It's well, I think the college that you went to is actually kind of along those lines.
Hmm.
Some people would call it, oh, well, that's right leaning. No, it ain't.
Yeah.
From everything even I saw of my generation, that's kind of really middle of the road. Milk toast, it wasn't nothing extreme, right? And that shows me how much extreme academia went. So yeah, there's when everything out there is kind of skewing in a certain direction, and all of a sudden you're seeing just a lot of pushback. I mean, this is what gave us Trump in the first place. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
Uh, does it continue? Or is Trump going to, I don't know, step in a trap and sabotage the very thing that got him elected because he's too loony? All of a sudden to say, well, because you're going to see me. I think my overall grade, C plus, C minus, it depends on the
Hmm.
day. Uh, like I said, I support him because I think the option was far scarier. But I can't say that I'm over thrilled about the guy. I don't think he's doing some good stuff. Some other stuff, I just roll my eyes and go, "Oh my god, amateur hour."
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I look at it, I'm just grateful that I can sit here and say that I wouldn't give my president an A. I think that's what it comes down to is having that ability for my criticism to exist without it being something um, promoting his dethronal or anything. Just actually being able to sit here and have questions and have criticisms and have a conversation is something that keeps me from saying anything lower than a C. But I could definitely see like an inkling of maybe it going down a different route. Um, but for now, I just want to like live in the optimism of having that right and being able
No, I get
to
that.
have the conversations about it. It's
Well,
definitely
you're young.
something.
You should be optimistic, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Uh, no, serious, and I absolutely mean that with the greatest of sincerity. I mean, quite literally, when you end high school, college, this kind of period of your time, the uncertainty factor out there is what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to make a living? Where's am I going to go? What do I really want to do? And all of a sudden you become face to face. It's one thing when you're a little girl, you're wearing a dress on Sunday and you're at the family dinner and you think, I want to be a princess. Well, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a farmer or no. I never thought one day I'd say, oh, okay, well, you end up being a manager of a call center or something. That would never really exactly occurred to me as a child, you know. I want to be a middle manager somewhere of some dull place that makes me want to shove a broken beer bottle into my carotid
The
artery.
American dream.
Exactly. But that's what life serves all of us, you know. It's like you
Yeah.
got to suck it up and deal with it. But at the same time, I'm kind of amazed that you're as optimistic as you are. Um, One of the things, and I will admit to the audience that I've said I have made mention was one of the things that I found is people who happen to be kind of intelligent or just generally smarter thinkers or whatever you want to call it. It's one of the most difficult kind of positions to be in. One, because nobody likes smart people. I'm sorry, that's just, I know it's probably controversial. There's going to be a bunch of people giving hate mail over it, but nobody likes somebody that's smart.
Yeah.
In the same way that nobody wants to see the good looking guy with the six pack abs, Mr. Chad, or the hot looking Barbie chick that's got the perfect hip to belly ratio and boobs and the perfect hair. Nobody wants to see those kinds of things in the same way they don't want to see smart folks. Everybody wants to kind of associate with things that they can identify with,
Hmm.
which is the milk toast of the world. Um, Unfortunately, when you if you are intelligent or you're well read or you start to really truly and most people can do this, go pick up a book and start actually kind of really reading things seriously.
Hmm.
Start educating yourself on it. And you don't have to. It's not even in books. Lord knows the online world can do it. Shows you how much of a boomer I am. I'm still talking books, you know.
Hey, I love a
Um,
good book.
but when you start all of a sudden kind of realizing things and you kind of stretch your mind a little bit, yeah, stretch the neuron kind of thing. Um, and all of a sudden you find out that the world is on one hand absolutely beautiful and it's absolutely brutal at the same time. It plays no favorites. It's very arbitrary how the world works. Doesn't care what you think, what you believe. Sometimes the meteor just hits the house. And
Hmm.
that's it. It's game over, man. Uh, no matter what our intentions and stuff are, so we have to really kind of appreciate these things. And I don't know. One of the things actually you said today really just kind of impressed me a lot was just one, the recognition of kind of how detrimental war is. And that's probably one of the biggest things. Obviously a very staunch anti-war person. Uh, that I'm afraid that this administration isn't it, and it's not even just this administration. It's also people lurking in Washington and stuff in general. Just because they haven't experienced it, they treat it very trivial,
Hmm.
and we shouldn't. Because we don't want to end up in 1939 Warsaw, Germany, and Krakow. We don't want to go revisit these periods of history, and everybody thinks it could never happen again. And people have been saying that for several thousand years, and yet it happens over and over again. So, anyway,
It does, yeah.
all right, I'm going to beat a dead horse at this point. So, any other kind of last things? Interesting kind of a things. First 100 days. God, we're just getting started. The chaos is up here.
Yeah.
Holy shit. We only got 3 years and 265 days of this. So,
It's gonna be an interesting ride. I feel like because it is such a chaotic time, there's really no better time to just try something else, do what you want, uh, help others, and just kind of be something different because everything is chaos right now. So you can pursue your own chaos too. It doesn't. There's a lot of freedom in the chaos. Is what I'm trying to say.
well, there's a lot of opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Well, even in markets, and I can tell you this one bear markets, which is generally when stock markets fall more than 20% over a given period of time, they call that a bear market,
Yeah.
as opposed to the up and to the right bull market. Um, they call them face ripping rallies. And I mean, you literally watch the stocks and things just like go to the moon. If you roll in, you roll out. If you got an ETF and you're a boomer just sitting over here on your retirement, that shit never happens. Your pension ain't fund ain't doing it. You as an
Hmm.
individual investor can make out like a bandit in the chaos. But you have to be proactive. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
You have to educate yourself and do it. I didn't learn this stuff overnight. It took me 7, 8 years of just saturating myself into a bunch of boring crap that I didn't understand to finally be able to say, guess what? I can now make enough money just like pushing a couple of buttons on my computer. That ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
If you want to call that work, but the fact that you see opportunity in the chaos, you have no idea how far you are ahead of the game, man. You have no if you could really truly appreciate how to surf the chaos. Um, wow.
I really think I graduated at a perfect time, and everyone's telling me, I mean, yes, it's going to be hard, but I'm excited that this is the hardship I'm going through because honestly, when everyone's going through a hard time, it makes it a little easier to make bold choices. You don't feel like you're missing out, and that sucks because I don't want everyone to be going through a hard time, but there just is so much opportunity in just making a choice and making a bold choice and going for it. Um, and I'm just been really excited to take it head on and kind of figure it out as I go and be wrong and fail and not expect to be 21 and know what I'm going to be doing in the
Right.
next even 5 years. It's just been a really fun position to be in because no one expects me to know everything at this age too, and I can just kind
Yeah,
of
you
go
get a
for
little
it.
bit of a pass.
Yeah,
Look at that.
it's the best. Yeah, I have the respect of my degree or whatever, but no one expects
You
me to
earned
be
it.
anything beyond that. And so it's been a really fun spot to be in. And I'm just really excited to keep going.
Well, let me ask you a personal question, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Um, what is your thoughts on preparing for the potential of my guesstimation? And I'm no economist or no, I am not an economic guru by any means. I just happen to be doing well at the moment, just because I'm kind of reading the tea leaves in my own little way.
Yeah.
I know general themes.
Yeah.
I see a lot of hardship for at least 2 years.
100%.
Things where inflation's kind of high, wages stagnate. By Christmas, you'll be amazed at how much that 65-inch TV that only costed 475 at Best Buy is now all of a sudden $1,000.
Yeah.
Um, we're going to see a lot of it. Thankfully, some of the domestic stuff like chicken, eggs, beef, and stuff like that might actually come down in price
Yeah.
and gas. But
Yeah.
anything that's made abroad, it's going to the moon.
Yeah.
Um, how are you preparing for that, or are you? Do you
I
have any
mean,
expectation? Because you don't seem like kind of a frivolous person. A little bit that I do know you, I don't
yeah.
see like the type to be like blowing money of going. I want to go shopping for the new 528 Bimmer, that kind of a thing. You don't strike me that way.
No, I mean, for me, when I'm looking at my future, it's hard because there are a lot of financial choices I have to make in the next 3 years, which is hard. But I mean, law school being one of them, that's going to be a huge toll to my
Right.
bank account, and it's going to be taking out loans and trying to figure out what the best option is. And I mean, for me, it just comes back to my religion. I kind of just take it one step at a time. I prepare where I can, but I don't really see this need to live in fear of it or let money control me, even if it's a lack of money. Um, so I'm just trying to realize that I'm really privileged and the people around me really want to support me and make sure that I can make those choices without fear of being in debt. But if it came down to kind of doing it by myself, it's just about educating myself on what the best next step is and kind of trusting that there is a higher power that will guide me where I need to go, and that at the end of the day, it, it our world can provide for what I need. And I just really have trust and faith in it. And I know there's going to be hard times and I'm going to be eating beans and rice and whatever I can get my hands on. But I
I got
kind
a
of,
lot of recipes for you.
I'm just really looking forward to growing and being forced to grow and not being stuck in my comfort zone. I think I'm really excited to take on the challenge. And that's not that I'm not going to prepare for it, but I know
Right.
that no amount of preparation can really prepare me for what is the unknown.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm not a overly religious person. I was raised kind of Lutheran, and which is, it's like Catholic light. It's like all the sin and half the guilt. I would
Yeah,
say that.
yeah.
I always just had faith of a mentor of mine who just said, "You're always, no matter who you are, you're going to fail. The most successful people probably fail more than people who are not successful,
Yeah.
and you cannot fear failure.
Yeah.
You got to get your ass up, dust yourself off, go do it again, kind of a thing." And I admire kind of, you got that kind of tenacity to you. But yes, I do. I literally do have several hundred recipes for beans and rice.
That's perfect. Send them my way.
I do, because you will get. Well, I'm going to propose this just for giggles. We should kind of do one of our next podcasts coming up. I would love to do this because I'll even spend the time to kind of do some more research, and we'll do charts and bar graphs and maps and shit like that of exactly what you're talking about. If someone like yourself that maybe isn't going to law school, but
Yeah.
maybe they're just graduating Vassar College or, Tampa University or something, and it's like, okay, I'm starting my future. I have a general guideline of where I want to go. How the hell am I going to survive
Hmm.
in the current job markets and things? What do I got to do?
Yeah.
Um, Lord knows, folks, I ain't got all the answers. I got some good tips. I've been poor a long time, so I can show you how to be a very successful poor person. Trust me, I'm
Perfect.
really good with that. Uh, but you and I have mentioned off camera before about the concepts of economic migration. People, you got to do whatever the hell you got to do to survive, because not all of your life, no matter, the bad times don't last any more than the good times last. In fact, the good times last way more than the bad times do.
Hmm.
If you can endure those bad times, hey, you're going to come out hard, you're going to come out tough, you're going to come out wily and cagey. Even it's those are all good things, and it's going to kind of give you a resilience to the bullshit and the silver tongue horse traders out there just trying to basically get your money for free. Uh, Economic migration, that's actually a real thing. I can show you, at least there's places actually out there right now in places like Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, that are giving free land, upwards of like half acre lots, if you sign a 2-year contract, to encourage people to go to these small towns that happen to have good high speed internet. You could work from home, and it's like, okay, do you want to live there your whole life? Maybe not. It's boring. It's the middle of Calgary, but you don't have to live there your whole life.
Yeah.
That's a stepping stone,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that I'm seeing, which is really weird. Maybe you can explain this to me, because you are literally the mouthpiece for the digital generation that
Oh
I don't
gosh.
understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand. It's like you guys literally have the ability to go anywhere and do anything
Yeah.
because you do so digitally,
Yeah.
but physically, it's like people refuse to move.
I
I
think
am going to live here. I don't care how expensive it is. I will live on a sidewalk before I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm a victim of that because I moved back to Seattle, which is not a sound choice at all. But
Well, you
I
have family though, so I mean, I get the support from that. And
yeah, it's
we're
I
going to
think
be going to college there in Seattle, though, right?
yes, yes.
Okay, so
That's if I wasn't moving on to more school, I definitely would have not come back here. But I think for my generation, it's we want our future to be now, and we grew up really fast living online. And so in our minds, we are like 40 plus families. We want that American dream in a sense. And we want to be in one spot. We don't really want to grow up. A lot of us don't think we have to grow up. We've already went through our trials. We did all these hard things.
Online.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a detachment from the mental state of like, oh, I'm an adult, and actually realizing what it means to be an adult. And we're just coming out of college. I mean, we're really young as a generation, and the generation above us didn't really have, they're not great role models for dealing with this sort of stuff. So we just kind
Well,
of,
Gen Z are actually the children of Gen X.
yes, yes. And our parents, I think, did a good job at exploring in doing what they needed to do, but because they didn't want their kids to, they're like, they really want to set their kids up for success, so their kids don't
Right.
really know what their
Yeah,
parents
throw
went
them out with a
through.
bathwater. Like, go figure it out,
Yeah,
kid. Yeah.
I think it's just a detachment from what growing up really is. I mean, it's just everything online is so detached from what the average person goes through and what's normal to go through, which I think is why you see a lot of people holding on to the politics of like, yes, we should
Right.
make our economy better, and America is in such a bad spot, because in our mind it's like, oh yeah, of course it's in a bad spot because we don't get to live in Seattle in a high-rise apartment. Like most people should be able to afford that. When in
Right.
reality it's like, oh well, most people don't afford that when they get out of college. And
Well,
I
it
think
makes people like me angry. I'm like, why is it seem like everybody teaching everybody that America's bad, we're colonizers, we're these hateful people, all these other, and I'm like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, you can make an argument against, say, things like capitalism, but yet even Steven Pinker, I mean, he's the most left wing educated academic I can think of, and this goes, well, call it what you want, but it's actually lifted more people out of poverty than any other kind of economic framework devised by humankind up until then.
yeah,
You look at everything prior, and my God, there were still people in slavery. And I mean, that was the general rule of things back then.
yeah.
Bitch about it all you want, but it's got its problems. And America's just, I guess we're trying to judge the history of things through today's lens. And at the same time, we don't recognize that Western civilization has done a lot of good things. I mean, it was the West that freed slaves. Yes, did America have slaves? Oh, yes, it was a horrible period of time. And we fought a great war over a lot of that. But it was also this kind of concept of our government and morality and the enlightenment of our society that said, you know what, this is wrong.
Yeah. I really hope that it doesn't take a war for us to realize that we have something worth protecting. But are we going to
God,
ever
I
get
hope so
there? I don't
too.
know. But it's definitely a weird point in my generation. I understand the lack of travel. I think that is more of like the millennial older generation. I think my generation is really recognizing like that maybe we don't have it all right, and it is worth exploring cultures and exploring the world and just taking in life for what it is. And that's, I think, the highlight of my generation is the kind of nature of exploration and curiosity. There is a
Well,
lot of that there in my peers.
I saw just a statistic this morning that the Zoomer generation is it's increased. It's actually going to church, um, and it's kind of adoption of, well, they want to say it like right wing, but more conservative, which is, I think, is a better way of putting it because there is a difference between right wing and conservative.
100%.
And I know it's nuanced, and a lot of people don't want to delve into that, but it does not honestly surprise me that after everything that I've seen, in fact, we're still going to explore one of these days the nose ring theory because I've
I'm
been
gonna
looking
get a
at that.
nose ring just to piss you off.
No, I'll get a nose ring to piss you off. No, no, I won't. I won't. No, I couldn't do it. It's I just it cracks me up. I don't know why, but anyway, that's kind of a funny thing. But in a future podcast, I really would like to explore kind of the things of the economic future. I mean, one of the reasons that I wanted to do our podcast was
Mhm.
I feel a certain debt to the next generation because I do not have children of my own. I have nieces, nephews, and things like this. Um, there were people who mentored me in the past that gave me good advice that allowed me to basically stay out of jail, not end up on a street thing as some kind of a drug addict and a drunk or whatever, just to get through life and be a human being that's a productive
Yeah.
member of society. And I know I'm setting the bar really low, but that's okay. I started out down here and I got most of it left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thankful for those handful of people, mostly men, who basically said, it's okay to think about Rome. That's what guys do. We
Yeah.
think about medieval battles and tactics and all these kind of nonsense. We think about why civilization is what it is. And it's hilarious, is because this is even passes down to, I don't know if it's through video game culture or something, but even young men today who've never been to war, their whole life is digital, still appreciate the whole concept of Rome.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I
It
don't know
is.
why, but it is hysterical. But I would really like to actually have a discussion in the future about what is the future for younger generations. How do you capitalize on something to make the most out of your education, economic considerations? I was talking to a lady friend of mine, dear friend of mine for like 40 years, Charlene down in Tampa, Florida. And when I found out with like their mortgage payment and stuff, are you freaking kidding me? Holy shit. Our house was like, here. And all of a sudden, just in like 20 years, it's up here. It's like, what the hell happened? And she doesn't exactly have some big executive job or something.
Hmm.
She's worked her whole life. She's done it the right way. She's worked the same damn job for like 20 something years, man. I mean, people don't even do that anymore.
No.
And she's struggling, and nobody should struggle.
Yeah.
So, what is your generation going to do? And I want to say, guys, well, you know the gig generation.
Yeah.
What are you going to do in law school? Are you going to be bartending tables or waitressing, or what is it?
Yeah, well, you're not really supposed to work during your first year. They have kind of like a strict limit on how much you can work because it is a brutal shift from
Is it that
normal
bad?
university. Apparently, it's that bad. But I mean, I've always
Wow.
had random
Wow.
jobs. I'm a server at a golf course, and then just trying to do internships to gain actual knowledge that I can apply to my future
You're supposed
career
to make
along the
money,
way.
though. Internships don't pay no money.
Well, they're supposed to, but none of the ones I have. But those have been the gateway to my future success. So it's kind of realizing that maybe it's okay taking less of a paycheck if it means gaining the experience and connections that are going to help me in the future.
I get that. Well, which is kind of funny. It makes it all more prescient. The little silly meme that I sent you just right before the podcast. Sorry, we're looking for someone 22 to 26 with 30 years of experience. Can you start in our company with a 4-month unpaid internship? And then maybe this will take you blah blah blah, but paid minimum wage for the next 5 years. That I would not be surprised if that was actually something off of Indeed.com.
Oh, no, yeah, you need at least 5 years of experience. And as brutal and as frustrating as that has been to kind of try and dive into, I have taking the unpaid internships and taking the positions that everyone's like, why are you doing that? You should just be making money. And also making money on the side of them has opened so many doors for paid positions that my friends are just not experiencing. They are having to make the choice of getting jobs that pay because they don't want to work during the school year or they can't get a job during the school year, so they really need to make money in the summer. And by trying to like pace myself throughout and having super supportive parents and grandparents and people that are helping financially support me along the way, I've been able to really try and set myself apart from my peers in my work experience, which is so crucial now because a degree doesn't mean anything. You need a degree to get the job, but no one cares that you have
Right.
it. beyond the fact that you got it. So having this ability to be like, this is what I've done
Wow.
in field, this is experience I have firsthand. People are astonished that I even
Holy
would consider
shit.
that.
People go into debt for the rest of their life for the degree you have.
Yeah, and no one cares. Like no one even asks me about my degree or if I'm in college. They just want to know about what I've done, and they're like, "Oh, so and so told me this about
Holy
you."
shit.
It's all word of mouth. And I've been thankful to not have to kind of carry the burden of my college degree. I mean, it was pretty
Wow.
not cheap, but it was affordable to begin with, but I can't imagine going through that and not doing all the stuff people told me not to do because I would be nowhere. So I'm glad I kind of took the opportunity to just dive and take a leap of faith. But you in this work environment for my generation, it sucks. But if you can take an unpaid
My God, I
experience,
don't see how
take
many of you
it.
guys are going to survive.
Oh, I mean, it's just so
Honestly, that is literally
counterintuitive.
like I'm trying to think, what is it? The freaking Hunger Games, man.
Yeah, it's who you know, not what you know. I had a professor who said that over and over again, and he was like, you guys, you need to realize how much you're spending on your college tuition. Like, you really need to make the most of each class and use campus as a opportunity for connection more than just learning. Those days are
Right.
over, and I think that's hard because my generation is getting all this advice, which is kind-hearted and good faith advice of, oh well, don't take out a loan because then you're going to be in debt and stuff like that, which is all great, and there is a time in an economy for that. But we're my generation is kind of in a place where they need to be told to just take a risk. Like, it's a risk that no one wants to have that liability of, like, yeah, I told that person to take a risk and now they have a ton of loans and stuff. But
Right.
if you don't take the risk and you don't push for those opportunities and those experiences, you're going to be in debt for no reason. So might as well be in debt for a better reason. You really just have to
I
go for
respect
it.
that. Yeah, I totally respect that. Holy shit. That's, well, I would say this even about a kind of a global scenario of the United States economy. Look,
Yeah.
if you're going to go into debt, then do it for building roads and infrastructure and bridges, and go into debt for a reason.
Yeah. Try and make a big bold chance, and it doesn't work out, you're going to be in debt, you're going to be struggling anyway. So just kind of make the most out of it. We're all going down right now.
Yeah, none of us get out alive, man.
I mean, yes, that's basically where I'm at. Which sounds pretty negative, but there's again a lot of freedom in
But
just
you're
knowing we're all.
laughing and having a good time of it because you're actually seeing optimism in it. And trust me,
I'm
I'm
getting a
so
lot out of
impressed.
it.
I am. I'm impressed because, well, no, you are one thing, you are right. And even the famous investor Warren Buffett has made it. It's you buy when there's blood in the streets and you hold when everybody else is losing their minds.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of truth to that of kind of literally it is, well, you said it yourself. I mean, what it may is, Lord knows you're less than half my age and you've already figured out the fact that you can make your bones in the chaos. You're going to get something out of the cat. And it ain't always good. Sometimes you're going to go hungry. Sometimes it's going to be bad, and you're literally living in some shit old flea bag thing with cockroaches living in it. And you're going to endure that, and you're going to come out the backside of it as a way bigger, stronger person than where you went into it.
hmm
Because then all of a sudden, you don't give a shit. You don't fear. And somebody tries to bring you into a negotiation, some business deal, or what, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. And you're going to, is that all you got? Bring some real game next time,
yeah,
blah, 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 dude. Get the hell out of here. And that kind of confidence and that level of stuff, it matters. Matters. I mean, don't take my word for it. I know this Kevin guy has to kind of
yeah,
deal with some of this
yeah,
stuff. I'm talking about that guy. I was like, okay, he's kind of had to go deal and wrestle with those kind of things, but he gets it because certain people, when you get in kind of the certain level of business, it's a lot of it's gravitas. Just what you're saying is not what you know, it's who you know. Well, there's both of that, but it doesn't matter what you know.
oh yeah. But who you know is
What
going to
you
get you a
know.
lot farther. You're going to learn people and they're going to be inspired by what you know, but the real thing that matters in those transactions is their referral and their push forward. And I think a lot of this confidence and hope and optimism comes from my dad, and just seeing him bounce from job to job and really just take on the world and take on every area of his life. And
No,
I've
he's a lunatic.
he's
He's an absolute
crazy.
savage. Yeah, I give him that.
But I've
Um,
also had my mom who's worked the same job for us and made that huge sacrifice so we could have the stability of going to a private high school and having these little bit of a push. So I've been really in the middle of seeing someone live job to job, make the best of opportunity, and then someone who has sacrificed their hopes and dreams and what they want to do and possible career choices so that there can be a benefit for their family. And it's just been such a blessing to live in those two worlds
you call it a
and see
blessing.
out
I'm
of
thinking you
it.
have to be psychotic. You're living between two extremes. You got the moms over there. It's like, okay, okay. Steady, strong thing. Stay strong. Do this every day, every day. It's like literally being an ETF kind of pension manager. And then you got that over there going, I don't know. Rolling the dice from here because we could take advantage of chaos.
That's I think what comes down to it is I see that at the root of both of those there's this common denominator of them just being like, I'm going to make the best out of what I'm doing, and I'm just going to keep on doing what I think I need to do. And that seeing that attitude can be portrayed in two completely different areas and ways of life, but at the root that's what matters, is just taking it as it is and doing what you need to do, has been I accredit it to any success I might have in the future, any success I have accomplished, is this constant engraving. And even the people around me that they put around me, they made sure that they had the same idea of just, you, life is life, you got to make it work and you just do your best. And I've everyone in my family has been like that, and I've just been really blessed by that. And obviously it's worked out for them, but I know even if it didn't and they didn't have the money to prove it, they would still be having the same mindset. So
And I want to let the audience know just how much of a lunatic Holland actually is because the whole concept of this thing actually came up from a niece of mine. I said, Preston, you should have a podcast and you should get like someone like me on there because you can help me out with my infidelity and help me with my finance. At the same time, you can tell me it's like how to fix my car. It's like she goes, you're like this wellspring of knowledge that I never had. You're the old guy that knows, the old man that knows stuff.
yeah.
And when I brought this up with your pops at one time, he goes, I think that'd be a great idea. And I said, it's the dumbest idea I've ever heard of in my life. I think it's stupid as shit, man. Are you out of your mind? What am I got to offer young people these days? You know, well, they don't care about people like me. And the irony of it was, he goes, Preston, can't talk. Going to dinner. And then I get a call like an hour and a half later, and I'm like 3 whiskeys deep, you know? And then always he's like, nah, I think it's going to be a great idea. And I'm like, dude, you're out of your ever loving mind. And he goes, no, it's my daughter's. Thought she would be great. She wants to go do this. And I'm like, get out of here. You're being stupid. And you spoke up on the speakerphone. I didn't realize you were in the damn car next to him. I was like, oh, okay, this is getting out of hand here. It's like, I literally slept on this for like a week or two going, do I really want to do this whole kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know, to use a kind of a backwater redneck colloquialism here. What balls you have to try such a weird thing. We don't know each other from Adam of all of this. Uh, but it has actually been hilarious. I tell you what, you've been some of the most enlightening conversation I've had for ever. And anyway, we can leave it at that. Just because I'm gonna have to recover from this whole podcast. I've got to kind of digest some of the conversation here to prepare for our next podcast, but I still really want to do the whole economic kind of thing
Yes, we
because
should. I want to know your perspective because I feel like I've told you a lot about mine and there's a lot to learn. I mean, it's the more modern take if you want to consider it that way, but I really do think that my generation can benefit from your wisdom on this topic as someone who has lived through a couple ups and downs in the economy, and it's nice to have perspective. People want that. My generation wants that. My friends want it. They're confused. They don't know where to go. And I do want,
How to live poor.
yeah, I think that the older generation doesn't realize how much we do value in their wisdom and their experiences. So I love that this podcast can kind of be a bridge to that understanding.
Yeah, I hope so, because the weird thing is, it seems like dating things on YouTube and stuff I see, everybody has these weird kind of expectations of the amounts of money that should be made and transacted for things, and I'm like, is is that really where you find kind of contentment or happiness? And do is it really the 2,600 square foot McMansion? Is it really the car? Is it really? Do you know how easy it is to actually, if you frame the world of, I'm okay with this car, I'm okay with this little house, a 2 bedroom instead of a 2,600 square foot thing, or do I need a bass boat that costs $40,000? No, I'm okay with the $1,500 aluminum John boat and the motor. Just I'm doing the same thing. I'm just not doing it as much style.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, how much can you like put things like style and appearance for other people aside and truly actually go do something for the appreciation of doing it for yourself?
Mm.
Not because you're trying to get likes, clicks, or appear to be grand and happy and have this, that's the one thing that I just hate about online media is it's in the past we used to have a phrase called keeping up with the Joneses, and it was one of the things that drove people to insanity, was trying to keep up with how well their neighbors were doing. Well, their neighbor bought a boat, I need to buy a boat. The
Mm-hmm.
neighbor's got an in-ground pool, I need an in-ground pool. And as a consequence of doing all those things, I've got to work double shifts or go into debt and go do all of these things. What? To impress the fucking neighbors? How about you just try to kind of live with what impresses yourself? What are you trying to instill to your kids? And I don't know. We should look at things kind of a little bit in a different context. But anyway,
No, I'm excited. That's a great topic for next.
yeah, I have to go. Folks, be sure to buy us a coffee, uh, like, subscribe. Uh, Interesting and very long, diverse stream. I ain't gonna lie. Best yet. This is amazing. I love this kind of just everything is just so random and organic.
Yeah, loving it.
Any parting words?
Just keep learning.
Keep learning. Life is for learning.
Life is for learning.
I've heard that before. So, folks, like and subscribe. Thanks for showing up at Roots and Reasons. Y'all have a good night. And thank you, Holland. I appreciate you being here. And we will see you again later. Take
See
care, bud.
you.
Peace.